read 7 books in September, 9 if you're counting the 2 DNFs. Let's talk about what I read and would recommend with a yes, a no, or a maybe. I welcomed in the month of September and the autumn season with The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. And I honestly should have DNF'd the heck out of this one too, because this was a no. This is a small town romance, it's surprisingly spicy and there's a mystery element to it. Despite knowing that this book was all vibes and not really much plot before going into it, there was still not enough substance for me to be carried through the story. Then read Heavenly Bodies by Imani Eryu, and I'm honestly going to say yes to this because it had me in a chokehold. It's set in a world ruled by stars, there are different magical kingdoms and curses. The yearning was there, and I thought the twists at the end were so good and so well done. And then I read my arc of Drawn Together by Juliana Smith, and yes, this is one of my new top romances of the entire year. It's a closed door, you've got mail inspired romance set in New York City. Every element in this book really worked for me. I will never stop recommending this. And I think that put me in a reading slump because next I had 2 DNFs. The first was another arc, and I'm not going to mention the name just because it genuinely was more of a me problem. I was just not in the right headspace to pick up a book of that genre. But the other book that I DNF'd was You Again by Kate Goldbeck. So this is obviously a no from me. This is a very polarizing book. If it's for you, it is. And if it's not for you, it really isn't for you. This is a When Harry Met Sally inspired romance, but I found both characters unbearable, especially the girl. She was thirsty for everyone. Anyone that walked by was a piece of meat to her, and she was obsessed with threesomes. For now, I've shelved it, I've DNF'd it. I then read Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. This is a solid yes for me. This is a slower paced story. I couldn't actually tell you what happens throughout this book. There aren't many events, if that makes sense, but it was still really enjoyable. I then finally ticked off Gone Girl from my bucket list, and I'm gonna say a yes for this, verging on maybe. I would say there are lots more thrillers out there that have genuinely wowed me more than this book did. The thing that won me over the most was the way Gillian Flynn really knew her characters inside out. She knew their psyche, she knew what made them tick, and the way that that kind of played out and was developed throughout the book was so satisfying to read. Then I picked up Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This is another thriller that I would honestly say no for me. I found the content of this book to be extremely creepy and disturbing and actually really sad. Because I guessed everything, it also didn't leave me feeling shocked either. I just felt sad. And then I managed to finish Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross despite being in a reading slump. This is of course a yes for me. I will recommend anything that Rebecca Ross writes. But I found the pacing of this book to be really off. It took me about 60% of this book to really get into it. At that point though, I did become fully invested and I flew through the rest of the book in about an afternoon. This is the prequel to Divine Rivals, but you can definitely read this as a standalone. If you haven't read Divine Rivals and you really want to pick it up, I would say read those 2 books first before you read this. There are 1 or 2 things that happen in the epilogue that do spoil a little bit of the plot of Divine Rivals. I gave this a 4 star. I really liked it. I love her writing. No one does romantic fantasy quite like Rebecca Ross.